Welcome to Elevate, the masterclass where we dissect the elements of exceptional achievement and lifestyle design with a focus on personal growth and real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Tyler Chesser.
Elevate Nation, welcome back. This is Tyler Chesser. I'm so thankful to have you here. And I'm blessed and grateful to be joined by New York Yankees pitcher Chad Green today. I know you're going to get a ton of value from this because we're going to dive into the mind of a high performer, a high performance athlete, right? A world-class athlete with arguably the most famous, sports organization in the planet, across the world, right? So I am so blessed and grateful to be having this conversation today. I know you're going to be, gaining so much value, so much wisdom, because we're really going to dive into the depths of what makes world class today. So buckle up. It's going to be an amazing day. I want to welcome you back to the show where we sit down for mind-expanding conversations with influential authorities in real estate, as well as top experts in other industries and disciplines, or, by the way, world-class athletes. And today is that day where we dive into the mind of Chad Green. Are you ready to take it to another level? Because this is for leaders, entrepreneurs, real estate investors who have a burning desire for the extraordinary. It is our mission to identify and apply how the best of the best raise the bar personally and professionally to achieve greatness in whether it's real estate, whether it's business, whether it's in your personal life and beyond. And at the end of the day, it's about beyond, right? Because we're going to distill the mindset, the habits, the routines, the systems, the tools, the strategies, and so much more from Chad Green, who's going to be joining me in person today, so that you can elevate to a life without limits. At the end of the day, it is about recognizing that there is no limits. There is no limits to your future. You can apply wisdom from a world-class, athlete with the New York Yankees and apply that to your life, apply that to your business, apply that to, everything that you're doing. So I want to encourage you to really take notes because this is a masterclass for leaders and those looking to achieve uncommon results and purposeful outcomes through personal growth, real estate investing, other ventures, most importantly, and ultimately in their lives. And if you are enjoying this show, and by the way, if this is the first time that you've listened to Elevate, I want to welcome you. I want to thank you for being here. And I want to encourage you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we're coming out with 2 shows every single week. And in some weeks, 3, right? So I want to encourage you to subscribe, give us a rating, a review. What are you getting from this show? What type of feedback, are you applying to your life? And I want to encourage you to give us that, give us the gift of not only giving us a rating, a review, subscribing, but also sharing this with your network. If you want to screenshot this episode and post this on social media, that would be the greatest gift that you could give us, because in any business and anything in your life, right, the greatest accomplishment or the greatest compliment that anyone can give you is a referral. And if you are enjoying this, we ask you to pay the fee, and that fee is to share this with one other person. If you have the opportunity of sharing it with many at one time, then of course we encourage you to do that. Tag us on social media and tag your friend, and also share your top 3 takeaways. So I want to encourage you to look for what are your top 3 takeaways from this episode that not only you can apply to your life, to your business, to your approach from a personal, professional perspective, but also share that with others because now they have the opportunity of doing that. So step into the role of a contributor as a teacher, and that is an extremely powerful role to be sitting in and to be stepping into. So if you're enjoying this, pass that along. And by the way, that is the fee. It's 100% free. Otherwise, you can also access all of our resources on elevatepod.com. We've got a ton of resources there, whether it's, book recommendations, links to connecting with guests, links to all of our programs, what have you. I mean, it's very, very deep over there, elevatepod.com. Of course, you can also go deeper with the community at Elevate Podcast Community on Facebook. So go over there and enjoy the tribe and enjoy the people that are all there sharing, their experiences of really engaging within Elevate Nation. And also, by the way, I want to let you know that Elevate Coaching Academy, Elevate High Performance Coaching Academy is open for enrollment. If you'd like to join us, if you'd like to go deeper, if you'd like to go to the next level and beyond in terms of your performance as a business leader, as a real estate investor, as a negotiator, as a person that has no limits, then we invite you to go check out elevatecoachingacademy.com. We have a free masterclass training for people like you who want to close the gap from where you are to where you want to be and really expand that, right? Expand your future to a place where you're financially free, you're emotionally free. Let's be honest. At the end of the day, emotions are, the most powerful driver in the universe. Not only financially free, but time free, geographic freedom, and all of those things. So I want to invite you to go check out Elevate Coaching Academy. With all that said, let's dive in here. Chad, my man, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's always good when you have a guest who can just like walk across the street to be on the show.
It's got to be one of the easiest routes to get here. So
exactly. But no, it's been fun to to briefly get to know you over the past, I guess, year or so that we've kind of been part-time neighbors at least. So I've really appreciated that. But I guess, for the listeners and people who know you maybe, in public, but what would you say, like, who is Chad Green as a man, like behind all the public image, behind, being a pitcher for the Yankees, all this stuff? I mean, like, who are you truly beyond all that?
Yeah, I think if you would ask my wife or ask any of my friends, I'm pretty laid back person. I don't get worked up over too many things. I think I hide my emotions differently than most people. So if we're in a big group or something, I'm probably going to sit towards the back or try to be out of the limelight, not like kind of out of the spotlight. So I'm pretty laid back, pretty easygoing at times. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I do everything. And that's kind of how my pitching reflects my personality a little bit. I don't show a lot of emotion on the mound, which I probably could do a better job at, honestly. So,
you think you should show more?
I think I should express myself a little bit more because I get, I guess when so many people are watching or stuff, I get a little guarded. I think at times. So I should probably express myself a little bit more. But
maybe it's a superpower, though, right?
Yeah, I don't know. So,
do you think that you have like different personalities, like when you're on the mound versus just in your everyday life? Just out of curiosity.
For me, it's very similar, actually. So I try to when you're out there pitching, like your heart rate can get elevated so quick. So it's like my heart rate might look elevated, but or might be elevated, but I look like I'm pretty calm, which in reality, I'm probably pretty high strung. I just don't show it like most people do. So, and I think that's just come over time of pitching my whole life. So it's not anything that was like taught, or I just kind of taught myself a little bit. And it's kind of how my life outside of baseball is as well.
So it's almost like that. I picture like the duck that's like paddling under the surface like crazy, but then up top it's like, oh, I'm just moving. Right?
Yeah, that's a great analogy, because that's kind of because I talk to my wife all the time about it. Pretty much after every outing, she goes, "Oh, you look so nervous," and I was like, "No, I was." Or, "You don't look nervous at all." I was like, "Oh, I was." Yeah, I was super nervous. And if you ask like some of my teammates, it'd be like, "Oh yeah, they know I'm nervous, but like I just don't. I look calm and collected." But that just comes from practice and
I mean, stepping out of your comfort zone, right? And being willing to step into a moment where you're going to feel nervous, right? You're going to feel like there's high stakes, high pressure. Could you describe that? Like, what's going on in your mind? Like when you're maintaining that emotion, when you like your heart rate's up, but you want to stay calm so you can perform.
And so I think for me, it's about being present, like not worrying about any outside factors. So for me, it's just, focusing on what is the next thing. So it's like, just take pitching. Like I'm only going to focus on this next pitch. Like whatever's happened in the past, I can't affect. And in baseball, whatever's going to happen 2 pitches from now, I can't affect. So it's like, what is my job right now? And I think that what's my goal right now and what's my goal this minute is, for me, kind of gets me through that whole scenario. So it's like, and that's kind of what I do.
Is that like do you have to train yourself to be present like that? Or has that just been a practice that you've just really experienced and it's just become second nature? Or is that something you still have to train?
I think it's something I still have to train, because it's something that didn't come natural. I think I was a person who always looked towards the future. Like I was like, okay, what if I throw this, what's going to happen? Or if I go do this, what's going to happen? Instead of just doing it and then seeing what happens in that result later on. So, that's it's something that with baseball, like I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, because I can't worry about, oh man, what happens, or I'm looking forward to this day. But like, no, there's so many days leading up to that day that I don't like looking in the future that much. So it's like, my wife will always say like, oh, I'm trying to book this trip 2 months out, I'm like, hold up, like I still have 2 months of playing to do, and that's like for me, like 2 months is a long time in the baseball world.
No
So
doubt.
it's like showing up every day. So it's just something that honestly that I think I've had to practice every day to be able to kind of control my emotions and just be in the moment at that particular time.
So one thing I'm really curious about is like going back, and I even asked you, like, did you ever expect that you would be a pro baseball player one day? I remember talking about that at one time, but before I get to that, I'm actually curious, like, what was the feeling like the first time you put on the pinstripes, like the first time you put on the Yankees uniform? Like, what did you feel? Like, do you remember that moment?
It's I mean, of course, I think that's something that, I mean, you obviously look forward to your entire life. So I mean, as soon as I picked up a baseball, I was wanting to play in the big league. So, and to actually play for the Yankees, I don't think once you're there, this was 2016, so 5-6 years ago. Like, I'd never. I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of like it doesn't hit you at that particular time that you're playing for the Yankees. You're playing in big leagues. There's millions of people watching, and how big of a deal it is to people, and like the history that comes with that, putting on that uniform. So it was something that I probably didn't take for granted, or I took for granted at the time. But as time went on, I really, and seeing all these ex-players come back and these guys that I grew up watching and being heroes on TV, and but I mean, these guys are just normal people that are really, obviously, really good at baseball. So I think now I appreciate it more that I get to play for the Yankees and that I played this long for the Yankees. So it's something I definitely don't take for granted now, and I would say I appreciate it every day now than I did 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that's the separator too. It's like what we were talking about before we started recording. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, we got to start recording. This is good stuff, because like the separator is like, it's one thing to make it, which is phenomenal, right? To ever put the uniform on, but then it's a different thing to like last for several years and continue to expand. Because you were even talking about like ups and downs, right? Like, of course, you're like, you get momentum and you're on a streak and you're playing well, like that's different. But when you hit those rough patches, right? So like how has it been for you kind of managing the good and the bad, and how do you get out of the bad?
That's a great question, because I've had times where I've pitched the best I've ever pitched. Like I'd take 2017, for example, I was throwing the best I've ever thrown. And I didn't even know it. So, like I said, I kind of took it for granted, and not sure if I actually put in the work every day to be able to sustain that. And then I think it took really struggling to be able to realize what I need to do every day to be successful in the big leagues. Because there is somebody gunning for your job every time you go out there. There's somebody that wants to take your job. So it's not like
not just someone, but like a whole, like,
it's not
tons
like
of people,
most businesses,
right?
like we're like, I mean, it could be 2 or 3 bad outings and you're done. Like, so it's like, for me, once I got up there, it was about seizing an opportunity, and what are you going to do with the opportunity was my thing. So it's like, people ask like, why did you stick in the big leagues or something? I'm just like, well, I had one opportunity and I did well, and I just kind of ran with it. So, but then you go from the highs of highs to about as low as you can go. In the baseball world, is you get demoted. So it's like, it sucks at the time. But I think it takes you have to look yourself in the mirror. Just would say, you have to look yourself in the mirror and be man enough to be like, okay, what am I doing wrong? So it's being able to take advice from other people and taking what works for you and doing what you need to do with it. I think I've had some great coaches along the way that have helped me through those bad times, and they've taken a lot of their time to help me. So I've I was ears open, and I just listened. So
just humble, right?
And that's kind of like what I do throughout the year too. I listen a lot. I'm not going to be the most vocal guy in the room or something like that. So I listen to guys and take bits and pieces from everybody and see what will work for me. And I think so during those bad times, I'm able to know what I did to get out of those. And so if I ever get back to that bad time, I'm going to be able to get out of that rut a little faster.
Because you're willing to take direction. You're willing to recognize that, hey, you're not perfect. Like just because you're, a Yankees pitcher, it's not like you don't have more to learn and grow and to improve, right?
Yeah.
You're open to that direction.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where a lot of guys fall into trouble is they're just kind of do it their way. And they're not going to listen to other people. And I think that's fine. I think we talked about before, you have to know when to change. And like in baseball, you don't want to change every day, but you also don't want to change too late or change too early. So if you change too early, you're not going to know what's really working. But if you change too late, it could be too late. In baseball, your opportunity is so short that it could be over. So it's such a fine line, and it just takes guidance from other players and people who have done it in the past to kind of work through that.
Yeah. And that's actually, so that's what we were talking about before we started recording here was like, man, if you're going to last, right, it's being willing to adapt, right? Being willing to change, modify. And because, people are going to develop a book on you, right? They're going to see your tendencies, all this stuff. And so if you don't adapt, but it's almost that it's like that thin razor, right?
Yeah.
Could you describe that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about before, like with all the technology and numbers available nowadays and numbers that they can get on guys. The margin for errors in my profession is so small. So if you're bad at something, they're going to exploit that. So it's like, you just try to cover all your bases. And literally I talk with our bullpen coach all the time, and he goes, what did I tell you 2 years ago? I said, he goes, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. And don't change for anybody. You just got to do what you do. You're going to have people come in your ear and try to change you, say you can't do this, or you got to do it this way. But you just have to remember who you are and what got you to this point, and then just be really good at that. So because it's very easy once you get to the highest level to be like, all right, what is that guy doing? And that guy might not have to go through what you went through. So it's like I had to work really hard to get where I'm at. Some guys are so athletically gifted that maybe they don't have that. They have a more margin for error.
Not the same type of work ethic required to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. And I think it's almost like it's like a razor thin fine line, because it's like you want to remain true to who you are and what got you here, but you also have to be willing to update or make slight tweaks, like 2 millimeter shifts, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I think slight tweaks is the best way to put it, because you got to that point for a reason. Yeah. So why not be really good at that and then make minor tweaks off of that? Right. So it's like, why get to the highest level of your profession and then change everything? Yeah. And it's very easy to do. Once you go through a struggle, you think, man, am I ever gonna be able to do this again? Or like you have that little voice in your head saying, well, what if I do that, it's gonna happen again? Or but you just have to, for me, it's just like trusting the process, trusting yourself, trusting you've put in the preparation, the time beforehand, that that whatever you go out there and do, it is what it is. Yeah. And like, you might go out there and be really bad one day. I mean, I went out there one day this year, gave up 3 homers in 1 inning. So it's like, all right, am I going to crumble? Is this going to be the end of my season? It's like, no, like, let's watch the video. Let's figure out what's going on, and let's adjust to it. Let's not get a whole new pitch, or let's not change my workout regimen, or let's not change everything. Let's find what happened and tweak it and move on. And then I think the more guys are willing to do that, the more success you have.
Hey guys, just a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back to the show. This episode of Elevate is brought to you by CF Capital, and you know how much I love real estate and how it can be a vehicle towards creating any outcome that you want in your life, which is really why we created CF Capital. It's a real estate investment firm that focuses on acquiring and operating multifamily assets that provide stable cash flow, capital appreciation, and a margin of safety for our investors, for our partners, and for the people that we serve. Our team leverages its expertise in acquisitions and management to provide investors like you with superior risk-adjusted returns while placing a premium on preserving capital. Our mission is to provide property investment and asset management solutions to help investors maximize their returns by investing in high-value multifamily communities. our philosophy is that we can elevate communities together through this process. And I want to invite you to go check out cfcapllc.com, because we have a free ebook that's called The Bottom Line, the 10 ways to increase cash flow in an apartment complex. And I want to tell you that this is a value packed ebook. So I want to invite you to go check that out right now at cfcapllc.com. I think you're going to get a ton of value just from reading this, whether you apply it to your own business or whether you educate yourself further on what it would look like if you invested with CF Capital. So go check that out at cfcapllc.com. Again, that's cfcapllc.com, and enjoy the rest of the show. And it's almost like the philosophy that you always, like, in times of stress or pressure, you fall to the level of your training, right? So at the end of the day, is that what you kind of fall back on your mindset and say, look, I've showed up, I've been committed. So look, sometimes things happen that aren't what I want, and so now I know that I can trust in myself. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. Because I mean, just think, I mean, baseball, as a pitcher, once the ball's out of your hand, that's it. So like once you have the 2 seconds in your windup, once the ball's out of your hand, that's it. So like, there's nothing you can control after that. Yeah, you can field your position or whatever and help yourself out, but after that, it's just the game of baseball. So it's like, you control, like as a pitcher, we control so little, but you have to trust that, the work that you put in and your routine. And that's why, like, I love, like, when I'm at the park, I love watching guys' routines. I love talking about, like, why are you one of the most successful pitchers in baseball? Or, like, why are you one of the most successful hitters in baseball? Why do you never get hurt? Or, and then you look at the other side, it's like, oh, why is this guy always hurt? Or why is this guy not having success as he should? Because he's super talented. So for me, I just love looking at guys' routines and what makes them, and then kind of taking some of that and incorporating it to my routine and see what works and what doesn't work. And so it's very interesting to watch guys work.
I think it's interesting too. I was talking to a guy named Jay Papazon, and he wrote a book called The One Thing. And what he talked about was, like, learning and growing. Like, a lot of people will learn something new and they'll totally just transform everything that they're doing and replace everything else. Or the other side of it is, hey, I can stack on top of what I already know, right? I can improve this, and I can say, hey, this might work, this might not. But so what you're saying is you go around and literally gather information from others. Like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, what are, what's your diet look like? I would imagine. What's your training routine? What else are you doing out here before the game? Is that kind of the conversations you're having?
Exactly it. So, like, it's just having a conversation with people and seeing, because once you get comfortable, like, once you're at the highest level, and once you get comfortable, you're done. Like, so you always have to be adapting and changing, not changing, but, like, you always have to be willing to go to the next level. Like, it's because in the past 5 years, the technology in the game is, and right now it's the best it's ever been. So it's like, if you're not willing to change with the game's just going to pass you by. So it's like, even if you pitch for 10 years, there's still guys that have made hundreds of millions of dollars. They're willing to change and listen to what other people have to say, because once you get complacent, it's over. Like, it's, as soon as you get comfortable and think, like, oh, I belong here, and then you're not willing to put the work in. Because I see so many guys, it's crazy. They get to the highest level and then they just stop working. And then they kind of, like, fizzle out, which is crazy, because now you start making more money and you just get comfortable. You go to, you just want the lifestyle without having to put in the work. So it's like,
what do you think that difference is? Is it the passion, or, is there just not strong enough, desire towards being something even better than where they're at? You think they've outperformed what they had the vision for themselves, or what do you think the difference is?
Because I think every kid growing up, like we said, like, every kid growing up is thinking to themselves, oh, I just want to make it to the big leagues. Oh, I just want to get to the big leagues. I just want to get to the big leagues. And then once you get there, you're like, oh, I made it.
Yeah.
You, like, take a deep breath and, like that's it. Like, but that's when the work actually starts. It's like all the preparation and all the time and the travel ball and the stuff growing up is made to get to that point. And then once you're at that point, that's when it's like, now the game's on, because there's tons of people who want to take your job every day. So it's like, how am I going to separate myself from the next guy? And that's when you can really see a change or a result.
So let's talk about the routine, and because like what you've been able to do, it sounds like, is really just fall in love with the process, right? Because you've observed that people who stick around, not only stick around, but thrive, right? It's not because like you get there, it's like, all right, am I going to survive? You know, am I going to survive or not? That's probably the first question. It's like, all right, I made it. Now it's step 0, right? If you really want to last, I would imagine. So then it's like, okay, do I want to thrive? And now thriving is about 2 millimeter shifts, right? I'm excellent, but I want to be extraordinary. I want to be like top 1%, top 0.01% of the 1%, right? So what else? Talk to me about the routine and like, what have you observed between not only the guys who last, but the ones who, you know, are all-stars and that kind of stuff. I mean, what are you seeing?
I mean, I think the first thing that jumps off the mind is just the focus guys have. The ones that want to be great, their focus is just on another level. So just taking Garrett Cole, for example, signs a mega contract, but then I was super excited just to see like how does this guy prepare? How does this guy go about his day? And the first thing I noticed is as soon as he puts his pants on, puts his jersey on, puts a hat on, he's like laser focused. So there's nothing else that matters because there's so many. I mean, guys still have a family and guys are still dealing with things. So it's like, how do I separate the two? And I think it's very interesting to see guys, and him in particular, and him just watching him is like such a laser focus and so detailed and knowing exactly what he needs to do to get ready, and then just preparing like people that I've never seen. So it's like, I was like, okay, makes sense why he's at the level he's at. So it's like, because his preparation and attention to detail is a lot better than most people's.
So how are you like taking that type of observation and applying it yourself in terms of your focus? So like when you put the pants on, you put the uniform on, you put the hat on, I mean, are you stepping into, all right, this is the, you know, Chad Green, Yankee baseball player, like literally like this is my identity and I'm stepping into that? Is there a difference in that in terms of who you are before you put that uniform on? Or, I mean, I know we talked about that a little bit earlier, but is there a mindset shift that happens?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, we get to the ballpark so early. So if it's really hard to be locked in from 1 o'clock to 11 o'clock. So
I can imagine,
so that's almost impossible. So it's like, there's times throughout our day where like you need to be super focused. So that's kind of what I've kind of evolved to. So when I'm playing catch for 15, it's like almost 15-minute windows. So it's like 15-minute window of playing catch. Okay, this is going to be the best catch play ever. Or it's like, then, all right, I need to study the hitters or figure out what their tendencies are and stuff like that, scouting reports. So it's like, okay, I need to devote all my attention to preparing for the game tonight. And then as soon as you put the, as soon as you get ready to go to the bullpen, it's like, all right, I need to watch the game, see how these hitters are swinging, reacting to the guy pitching, and then take mental notes of maybe who's hot, who's not, who's seeing the ball well today, and taking that to the game and kind of processing all at the same time. So
it's like going the extra mile in every capacity, right? It's one thing at a time. It's using your time, your presence, like you talked about earlier, your presence on one thing. And then, all right, now we're going to shift to the next component. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. It's kind of trying to compartmentalize kind of your day. So it's like, then once I'm in the bullpen, it's like, as soon as the game starts, I need to go through my same stretching routine every day. So I make sure I'm ready to pitch in the game, just from a physical aspect. And then, all right, then the bullpen coach is going over the scattering reports. But it's like, you should already know exactly kind of what you want to do before he even tells you. He's just like your secondary plan of like just reassuring you of what you should already know.
Yeah,
and that's
helping you identify any blind spots if there are.
And that's kind of the next level stuff. Like,
got it.
When you get there, it's like, all right, you just want to go out there, pitch, you want to do your thing, you want it to be over, and then you're done. So it's like the next level is doing your homework, making sure you're ready, physically ready, and then just taking care of yourself. I mean, it's just as important after the game once we get home as it is pregame. So
there's so many similarities in what you're doing in business and the top performers in business. I mean, it's the extra level of preparation. It's the humility and recognizing that if you aren't willing to change or adapt, you know, you're going to get crushed. You know, the market is so efficient, it will crush people. And it's the same with what you're doing. So I just think this is such a relevant conversation for anybody. It's like, if you want to be great, you want to be excellent, you want to be a legend, like this is what we're talking about right now, which is amazing. Like I'm getting chills even thinking about it. I don't know if you are, but
no, I love it. So
it's go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I'm reading a book right now, and it literally, one sentence stuck out to me. It was like, because we have an off season every year for 4 months. It's like, what everybody, when they leave a season, it's like, all right, I'm gonna come back in the best shape of my life. And you hear it in spring training, oh, I'm in the best shape of my life, or like, oh, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna learn this new pitch, or I'm gonna change my swing, or do something. But it was like, do I want to have a good off season, or am I willing to commit to having a good off season? So it's like, there's a big difference between wanting and then committing. So it's like, a lot of people want the good off season, but a lot of people don't want to commit. It's like, and committing is like, I tell people all the time, like, the 2 hours we spend at the gym in the morning is the easy part. Like, it's what you do with the other 22 hours. Like, so it's like, do you get enough sleep? Do you eat the right things? Or you're not taking care of yourself, so you're tired the next day. And then it kind of just a snowball effect. So I think it's big of like just committing to something, or just actually you want something to happen, or is like fully committing to something.
Yeah, I could not resonate with me more, because I think about this all the time. It's like, all right, are you interested in being the best of the best? Or are you committed? Because there's a real big difference. And I don't know about you, but it's like, look, if I'm interested, that means that, well, like, you know, I can't go over there. I can't get up at this time. I can't go to bed at this time. I can't eat this. I can't do that, because that would be inconvenient, right? There's always a story as to why something's inconvenient. But if you're committed, and I don't know if this resonates with you, like, you'll do whatever it takes. Like, you will study in the off season. You will read the books. Like, you'll read the books that may not have anything to do with baseball, but you can apply that, right? You're in your thinking, your repertoire. So is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's, like I said, there's a big difference between guys wanting to get stronger, or like actually committing themselves to getting stronger. Because you like, just like, you know, like you and Katie eat very healthy, and I see you guys work out and stuff like that, but like the workouts are just a small portion of it. So it's like, unless you're willing to go, unless you're like challenging your mind and you're eating the right things and taking care of your body, because what you do now affects what you do later. Like, I don't stay up super late, because I know if I stay up super late and I don't get enough sleep, my workout the next day is going to suffer. And then I'm going to be mad at myself because I didn't put in the work that day for my long-term goal.
So, and then when you're on the mound and like maybe you just gave up 3 home runs, you're like, well, shit, I wasn't working hard last, 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago. And it's like, I don't deserve to be playing well anyway. So, you know, is that kind of what comes in full circle?
Yeah. Cause I think everything I try to do is meant, okay, how is this going to affect my baseball? So it's like, is this going to hurt my body, help my body? So it's like everything that I put in my body, I'm like, sometimes, like, do I eat sweets? Do I drink?
You did give me you gave me a cupcake one time. And I was like, wait a minute, this is big.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. If
you were getting it out of the house.
If you ask anybody, I got a bit of a sweet tooth. So it's
nothing wrong with that.
But so like, I know, like, do I need to be eating this? No. Is it going to affect me? Yes. But so it's like, so that's something for me to work on. So it's like, but so that's kind of what I do between everything throughout the day. You ask my wife, she thinks I'm crazy. It's like, no, if I'm going to try to, once I'm home, I'm going to try to recover. I'm not going to go out and about and do a whole bunch of things and make myself tired, because then it's going to affect my next day. So it's like, am I going to work hard that day and try to recover? And like we said, be in the moment. Yes. But like, I know for my long-term goal, that's some of the stuff is not my best interest.
I mean, like I said, I think I don't know if I said it today or not, but you know, for me, it's like, if you have a why big enough, you can overcome anyhow, and anything becomes important to you, right? You can develop that type of focus. So like, if you had to describe like your extreme desire for greatness, really at the end of the day, like, what does that come down to? Do you have any idea? Or you probably thought about it a lot, but I don't know.
Yeah. Like, so say that again. So like,
what if you had to describe like your desire for greatness? Because at the end of the day, like those type of questions that you're having within yourself and the decision making that you have, you know, to really, you know, be extremely focused in all these different capacities, you got to have a big reason beyond just like performing, right? So is there anything that you
I mean, I think I think what gets me up every day is just knowing that I have a opportunity that not a lot of people have.
Yeah.
So I just say to myself, why not me? So it's
Ooh.
like, so yeah, there's hundreds of thousands of kids who want to be in my position.
Yeah.
So it's like, I need to take advantage of
It's
when
like
I'm
millions
doing it.
probably.
And if I can't, yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
if I can't take advantage of my opportunity right now, it's going to haunt me forever.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I can't sacrifice a little bit right now, then I'm going to be so mad at myself.
Yeah.
In the long run.
And it's become a part of your identity too. It
Yeah.
probably doesn't feel like sacrifices now, right?
No, it doesn't. It's just part of what I do. So
Yeah.
like, you ask anybody that's around me all the time, it's like, I will get up super early to get my workout in if I have a busy day that day, or like, but I'm going to get my workout in. Like, I'm going to get my throwing in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not skipping anything. I'm not doing anything. Like, I have my priorities, and that's just what I do. And then, but you're right, it is part of my identity. And there's so many, I think there's just so many kids that would want to be in my position. And I'm from a really small town. So it's like, oh, you're not supposed to make it. Or like I went to a small high school, and it's like, oh, so it's like, I just do it for like all those kids or people who say like, oh man, like I could be that one day.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's inspiration for sure.
yeah. So that's kind of what, and then, yeah, that's kind of what gets me up.
I love it, man. And the thing that I love most about it is that like, when you really break it down, it comes down to small decisions, right?
Yeah,
At any moment, it's always a decision.
Yeah.
And so could you walk us through kind of like, what's a day in the life look like? Maybe whether it's off season, which we're in right now, just for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Or even during the season, maybe it looks a little bit different. Could you walk us through that?
I mean, so like right now during the off season, obviously baseball's ramping up a little bit. So it's like, I mean, we're at the gym, probably work out for 2 hours. We're throwing for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour.
What type of workouts outside of throwing?
So, I mean, it's like, we're very, very baseball specific workouts, a lot of just kind of blocks of like rotational stuff, because we're such one-sided athletes. So it's like, how do we balance out both sides? So that's kind of what, for 8 months out of the year, we're so one-sided. So for the 4 months that we're not pitching every day, we're just trying to balance ourselves out, because if you're so one-sided all the time, more susceptible to injuries and stuff like that. So
got it.
But no, after that, we're just I just try to spend time with my wife, honestly, because it's this year was obviously a little different, but most of the time I try to just recover, do what I can, obviously like just take the dog on walks and stuff like that, but we just try to enjoy our home, enjoy being home, seeing family and friends, and doing that for such a short period of time before we go to the season.
Right.
But then during the season, obviously a little different. Obviously our nights are pretty late. So, I mean, we're not getting back till probably 11-ish every night. So, and sleep is obviously pretty important. So, not waking up till 9 or 10 o'clock.
How many hours are you getting per night? Like 8, 9?
About 8. I think 8 works for me. 8 to 9. 10's too much. 7's a little not enough. So 8 to 10, and that can obviously vary. More is probably always a little better during the season. So 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and then we're wake up, try to spend time with the family or wife, or I mean, we don't have kids, so just spend time with my wife, and for the 2 hours, and then I'm off to the field at 1 to 2 o'clock, and then kind of there all day leading up to the game. It's pre-throwing stuff that you have to do every day, so it's just a little maintenance physically that you have to do every day to be able to perform every day. So it's just something that we do. And then it's always, I mean, at the field, we go out, we stretch and throw, grab some food, shag batting practice, grab some more food, game, more food.
Go home. So talk to me about the diet. Like, what type of stuff are you putting in your body? I mean, like, what do you eat? I mean, is there, I'm sure you have cheat meals and things like that, but I mean, like, what's the average kind of day look like in terms of diet? I
mean, it's pretty nutrient dense foods for the most part. I mean, in the mornings, you're talking eggs, oatmeal, fruit, pretty standard stuff.
Make me hungry, man.
I know, right? And then, I mean, obviously during the season, I'd say we're eating more than we do in the off season. just because we're on our feet so much more.
Yeah.
And then once you're out there, you're burning so many calories that you don't even realize you're burning.
Right.
By stretching and moving all day. So, I mean, for me, I eat pretty healthy. Like my meals are always really healthy, but like I said, I have a sweet tooth, so
right.
Try to limit that. But I mean, most of my lunch and dinner is chicken, rice, steak, and some sort of vegetables, sweet potatoes. Literally, I keep it. My food is super simple. So I try not to. I don't need anything too fancy. I know what the food is there for.
It's gonna make you feel.
Yeah. So it's there to. It's there not to. I want it to taste good, but it's there to fuel my body.
Yeah.
And that's what I see it as. So, so I mean, food's pretty simple, but yeah. It's kind of.
I would imagine you surround yourself with trainers, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, the organization I would imagine provides trainers during the season. Do they also provide trainers in the off season as well, or
they give us programs to do.
Okay.
It's up to you how hard you want to work. So it's kind of free reign in the off season. They check in on you.
You're professional. You got to make those choices.
And I tell people all the time, I said, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Right.
You get to do it.
You get to do it.
And if you don't want to do it, somebody else is doing it. So that's what,
and
that's also what gets me up in the morning is like, if I'm not going to do it, somebody else is doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let that person outwork me or anything like that. So I mean, they're great in the off season. They give us every tool, every avenue that we could ever want of people of just whether you want to talk to somebody. We have mental coaches and so whatever you need, I mean, they're there for. So it's pretty much, it's pretty great.
So on the mental coach side, so like walk me through that. Is that more like from a therapy perspective or is it mindset training? Just curious.
Both. It can be whatever. He's there for everything. So it's like, if you just want to go talk about your personal life, if you need to get something off your chest, he's there for that. If you say, hey, I'm struggling in this aspect, I can't seem to let outings go or something, he can give you stuff to help and work on and in that aspect too. So he's kind of there for everything. So it's like, I've been to him like, hey, I'm struggling. What do you think I need to do? And then I'll go back to him. I'll have a couple of good outings and be like, I was really focused on this. But if you're, and also if you're having troubles at home or something like that, it's just somebody to talk to. Because a lot of people in our profession, I think, are scared to talk about stuff outside of baseball, which is fair. So
have you seen, from some of the elite performers versus some of the people who maybe don't last, have you seen a difference in their mindset or the way that they train their inner voice or, the way that they speak to themselves?
Yeah. I mean, I think just that inner voice is huge. I think you can just see it in guys. I think guys who are constantly like talking to themselves and like, because in baseball, like for me, I visualize like what I want to happen instead of like just wishing it to happen. So it's like, because if I visualize me giving up a homer, it increases my odds of giving up a homer. It's like, right before you throw a pitch is going to be, if I throw this pitch in the wrong spot, so you can hit it for a home run. It's like, so it's eliminating that mentality and getting to the point of, can I visualize where I need this pitch to be? And if it's there, whatever happens. So it's like, it's not
control the controllables.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's always like just talking to yourself throughout the whole game and the whole day because there's so many, especially if you're struggling or something, there can be so much negativity because there's millions of people that know like how our job is going. Yeah. So it's like, and have an opinion on it. So, and I get it. Like people are very passionate about our job. So it's like, if you let all of that negative energy in, you're going to spiral out of control. So it's like constantly talking to yourself and getting to the point where it's like just reinforcing good habits and reinforcing what you need to happen. So it's like not what you want to happen, what you need, in that specific moment.
So walk me through the visualization, because I think this is really powerful. Like I read a book years ago called Psycho-Cybernetics, and I would imagine like basically the theory behind the book is like self-image is a cybernetic instrument. Yeah. So what you visualize is what can become in your life, because your brain can't tell the difference between a visualization and reality, especially if you mix emotions with that. So could you talk a little bit about visualization and how you use that?
Yeah, I mean, I personally use it Not necessarily. It's probably when I'm sitting in the bullpen watching the game, knowing that I have a good chance to pitch. And it's like, I know who I'm going to face, and maybe I'm nervous about throwing this pitch to a certain guy. So it's like, okay, I have a better chance of executing this pitch. And it can be pitch to pitch too when you're out on the mound. It's like, okay, you're just going to process it super fast and be like, okay, this is what it needs to look like. And I think that when you're doing that, you're able to execute it a lot better. So it's like, for me, that's huge because I have a tendency to go the other way. So I have a tendency to
we all do.
Yeah, to visualize the worst thing happening.
For sure, yeah.
Like, and that's why I think I used to get so nervous before games because I would always think about the worst possible scenario. Like when I was a starter, I would always think, oh my gosh, what if I don't get out of this first inning? Like, what if I go out there and I can't get an out? Like, I'm done. Yeah. So it's like, so that was like obviously the worst mentality to have because it happens. Like you go out there and you're like, geez, it just happened. Next thing you know, you're sitting on the bench in the dugout and it's 7-0 or something. Right. So it's like, what can I visualize the best outcome and just kind of go.
I think people have trouble with it sometimes because, they're like, well, that's not real. I can't do that. How am I going to do that? But like, how have you been able to overcome that negative voice? Because I think that's probably the separator too. Because a lot of people, it's like where focus goes, energy flows, right? If you're focusing on the negative, you're much more likely to get that. But if you focus on what's possible, you're much more likely to get that outcome. So how have you been able to train that? I would imagine it's been a training for you.
Yeah, right? It's just, I think it's just taking time. It's just something where I've had to go through the bad stuff to be able to appreciate and know what does and doesn't work. So it's just like, for me, it's just been trial and error. It's just been, it's like, oh wow, like I pictured that and it happened. So I need to retrain my mind to be the other way. So I need to retrain to be the positive outcome. So it's just like, for me, it's just been time. Like that's
repetition, right?
Yeah, repetition and just being older, having more reps and just going through those scenarios and being able to be in the moment and focus on every pitch and not let 40,000 people screaming affect the outcome.
Hey guys, I just wanted to take a brief time out from this show, this incredibly mind-expanding discussion, to speak to the high achievers, the high performers. I wanted to speak to those who have a burning desire to go to the next level and beyond. First of all, I hear you and I see you. When I got started as a real estate entrepreneur fresh out of my W-2 corporate job, I was excited and jubilant to create and design my future. At the same time, my business and life was filled with confusion, filled with fear, doubt, uncertainty, and to be honest with you, sometimes even sleepless nights and hopelessness, even while experiencing what many would have considered substantial success. Ultimately, I mustered up the courage to hire one of the world's top high-performance business coaches to work directly with me on creating strategies, systems, and profound shifts towards accelerating my multifaceted performance and to become an industry leader. After years of investing significant resources into myself and in my business through this process, I'm now paying it forward as a high-performance coach to those who feel called to elevate to the extraordinary. Wherever you are right now, you know deep down that you have it within you to be great. If you're someone who's seriously looking to elevate your business, your real estate portfolio, your cash flow, your deal flow, your network, your net worth, your lifestyle, and ultimately your life right now and ongoing for the rest of your life, I have a message for you. Because if that's you, then I invite you to visit coachwithtyler.com. I have limited coaching spots available to guide people like you who want to substantially close the gap from where you are to where you want to be. These are first come, first serve, and demand high touch, one-to-one focus from me directly to you. And this is not for everyone. This is only for those who are decisive, committed, and willing to do whatever it takes. It's only for those willing to play full out and invest time, energy, and resources into themselves to achieve greatness in real estate investing and beyond, which is what we're all about on this podcast. This is for those defiantly inspired for transforming as an empowered, limitless, and unstoppable human being in full control of their and their business's future. If that is you, I invite you to visit coachwithtyler.com. Again, that's coachwithtyler.com, where you can apply for this life-changing opportunity. We will then schedule a discovery session where we will directly discuss what's working, not working, and how we can work together to accelerate your future. With that said, enjoy the rest of the show.
There's so much similarities in investing and business and all this, because it's almost like those challenges, those failures, like when you hit the dugout and it's 7-0, it's almost like that has now served you in that practice, right? So it's like, okay, so these negative experiences, they could be a gift in some way, right? They could make you have longer longevity. And it's the same in business. It's like, man, I did a terrible deal, lost a bunch of money, and now I could either say, I'm a failure, I'm the worst ever, and just keep focusing and keep festering in that. Or I can say, what gift is here and how can I use that to train myself in the future? I just think it's really powerful. Could you talk a little bit about one thing that you and I were talking about before we recorded as well, was just like, the pressure and also just the outside influence into, everybody within your organization as well as across, the big leagues, right? It's social media, it's media, it's newspapers, whatever. I mean, talk to me a little bit about how do you manage that? Because there's a lot of influences that want to infiltrate your mind so that when you're on the field, you can't have this mental fortitude. Could you talk a little bit about how you manage that?
Yeah, I think that's also taken time as well. I mean, I think for me, it's just been choosing, because there's always a choice. So it's like, I can choose to look at the bad stuff. I can choose to look at the good stuff, but I'm just not going to choose to look at anything. So I'm just going to control, like, it just goes back to controlling what you can control. I can't control what articles somebody writes about me, or I always tell my wife, I don't want to read the bad ones. I don't want to read the good ones either.
Because, you want to get the big head.
Because once you get comfortable and you get the big head and you think you're the man, everything crumbles. So it's like, in baseball, it's not too high, not too low. So it's like, you can be the best pitcher one day, and then and so what's a great thing about baseball, you can be the best pitcher and you can be the worst pitcher on back-to-back days. So it's like, why am I going to listen to what other people have to say, even though they're just doing their job. Like most people who write the article, they're just doing their job. So
like they don't hate you.
No, they don't hate us as a person. They're just doing their job. So I think I just choose not to look at it because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, whatever they write, whatever other people think doesn't matter. So it only matters what I do and what I think and what my wife thinks. And so I just kind of take that mentality, and that's kind of what I've done for the past couple of years.
I'm sure that's not easy though, too, because like, especially like you have a great game, and it's like, man, I want to hear what everybody's saying.
Sure.
About
No,
me, right? So that's probably not easy, I would imagine.
No, there's a lot of people who, and I used to do the same thing. It's very easy to type your name in Twitter and see what people are saying.
Totally.
So, that's just something that after a game, I just don't even look at. So it's like, I want to see what's going on in the world, news and stuff like that. But like, I can choose to look at that stuff and not choose to look at the baseball stuff.
Right.
So regardless of how good or bad it is, I just choose. It's just easier to not look at anything and just focus on what I can and what I'm doing and get myself ready for each day, and not, because somebody could think, oh man, he's pitching the best he's ever pitched. But reality, you could feel terrible, and you could know that you're maybe just getting lucky for a week or two, which happens. So it's like, people could think everything's all right and it's not all right, or people could think you're in the worst place possible, which happened to me a couple of years ago. Like, I had people text me like, oh, I just hope you're okay after like getting sent down and stuff. I just hope you're doing okay. It's like, no, I'm great. Like, mentally, I was great. So I got to figure out some stuff physically and mechanically to get myself back. But like, I'm not depressed. I'm not like embarrassed or anything. It's like, no, this is the best for me at this time, and that's just how I'm gonna roll with it.
Is there anybody that you study outside of baseball that's really been, instrumental for you in your growth, whether it's mentally, physically, or whatever, or just in performance, that has really been an inspiration for you?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know. I tend,
because I know you read a lot. That's the reason why I asked you that.
I mean, I think the only thing that comes to mind right now is David Goggins' book.
Ooh,
it comes to mind, just because your mind can go to such a different place than what you think. So like, that was like the one thing that stood out for me, is like, I can go to such a place that I'm not at the tip of the iceberg yet. So it's like, that's kind of the first person that comes to mind. So it's like, Yeah.
So tapping into the fact that you have so much more in the tank than you think you do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have that inner dialogue all the time where it's like you're in a tough workout or you're in a game, right? It's freaking grueling. And so you dive into that sort of repertoire, right?
Yeah.
So that's super important. And I think the other thing too is like your maintenance of your passion and your persistence, like maintaining that over a period of time. Like, just being a big leaguer for 6 years now. Is it six years?
This will be my 6th year.
This will be your 6th year, which is insane, right? Like the fact, like
Yeah.
you're already in the top 0.1% probably in many ways.
Yeah.
So how do you continue to maintain that? Is it just relying on that type of line of thinking, or is it just, hey, it's just about showing up daily? It's just about my persistence and dedication to my craft. Is there anything else that you'd add?
No, I think honestly, it's just what you said. It's just showing up on a day-to-day basis. And, taking it one day at a time. I don't like looking, where I want to be in 5 years. I don't like that question. Oh, what do you want to accomplish in 5 years? Like, no, I need to be the best today.
Yeah.
And then I'll worry about tomorrow. And like I said, there's always a bigger picture in mind. It's like, do I want to be financially stable for my whole life? And now's the opportunity to do that. So like, I'm going to take advantage of it, but I'm still going to focus on today, and then I'll worry about tomorrow. So
do you set goals like for per season and things like that in terms of, your performance, or no? Just curious.
I don't. So,
okay.
Let's
just maximize as much as possible.
Yeah. It's not something that I'm going to be like, oh, I want to be an all-star, or I want to be a top 5 reliever, or like, I want to be this. It's like, no, I need to do the best I can on a daily basis. And I think that's what gets me through a 160 game season. Yeah. It's not like, because then I could be looking halfway through the season and I'm having an average or below average year. Then what am I going to do? Just throw all the goals out the window and the rest of the year doesn't matter. So it's like, I don't like setting those individual goals. Or
maybe that's constricting to you, right? Because you have a bigger ability than what you believe is possible, perhaps. I don't know. One thing though, I was curious, like actually just kind of like going back to the beginning, was like, did you ever believe that this would happen? Like, did you or did you visualize this? Did you visualize being, a big leaguer? I mean,
it's funny you asked, because ever since we had dinner and you asked that question, and I gave you, and I was like, no, I didn't ever think I was going to be a big leaguer. And it's like, I still go back to, I'm like, did I ever not think I was going to be a big leaguer? Or
you almost knew it was it was going to happen.
Yeah. Like I knew, like if I just put in, even from a young age, like all I want to do is play the big leagues. And it's kind of been like, I don't know if I willed it to happen, or just like, I just thought like, no, that's just what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So it's not
it was
like
inevitable.
Yeah. So it's like, and I wasn't the highest draft pick. I wasn't I wasn't the All-American in college or the All-State person in high school or any of that. Like, I think it's literally just just putting in consistent work, and like I said, being able to change and adapt and be willing to look at myself in the mirror and know what I have to do to get to the next level that's gotten me to where I'm at right now. So,
do you have any other like peer players that are mentors for you on the team or otherwise?
Yeah. So I talked a lot to Zach Britton and Adam Ottavino, and when Dylan Betances was with the Yankees, those guys, and just like shooting ideas off because I kind of stick to like the bullpen guys because I'm with them all day. So it's like those guys have had a lot of success. So I'm always asking them questions about numbers or pitches, or like how they would pitch this guy, or like, hey, what would you do to this guy? Or like, so like, I'm just trying to absorb as much information as possible, because I don't want to look back and be like, man, I didn't ask this guy a question and I should have. So that's something I still need to get better at. I still need to be more interactive with people and really dive in of like what they do on a daily basis and what their thought process is to maybe even take it to another level. So
are there any former players that you tap into, just out of curiosity?
Not that I'm super close to, because I think for me, it's like, I'm not just going to ask a guy who I've never really talked to or got to know, like, advice. I mean, for me, I think I need to get to know the person.
For sure.
Because I think there's some people who are Hall of Famers that walk around a clubhouse that you can talk to, but they're like, oh, I just used to do this every day. I was like, well, yeah, that doesn't really work for me. Like I couldn't do what you do
Yeah.
because you were just really gifted. So it's like, that doesn't work for me. So I like to talk to people who are more relatable, who have,
That makes sense.
like the other, like Britain and Ottavina, like they've been through the ups and downs. So like I relate to them. So yeah, they might not be the highest paid pitchers or the best pitchers in the game, and they're really good, but like they've been through the ups and downs. I can relate to them. So I'm going to ask for their advice on certain situations because we kind of have a similar mindset.
So are there if you had to point to 2 or 3 of the most, challenging opponents that you've had over the first 5 years of your career, who would you point to?
Are you talking players wise?
Yeah, players wise. Yeah.
I mean, I think Manny Machado has done pretty well against me. I think Mookie Betts is one of the most gifted players I've ever seen play. So I'm glad he's not in our division anymore, but facing that guy was not fun. So it seemed like knew exactly what you were throwing, and definitely not fun to face. So
is there anything that like you take away from those guys that's like, man, I admire these qualities about them, and maybe it makes them such formidable opponents?
I think some of those guys like Mookie Betts and like JD Martinez, you hear like how early they show up to the ballpark and how committed they are to like watching video and willing to change their swing and like adapt and like watch every pitcher on the other staff and really exploit their weaknesses and know exactly how they're going to get pitched is very impressive. So to be able to do that on a day-to-day basis for those guys is incredible. So it's like, that was like one of the few times where I was like, they go to the park at what time? They're here how early? And so being able to like hear that and see what those guys are doing was impressive.
Just the extreme commitment. I love that. And then my coach says, if you spot it, you got it, right? So if you spot it, now you can apply that yourself.
And it's tough. It's like an inner battle of like, do I want to do too much? Because now there's so much numbers and stuff. It's like, what do I take and what do I push off to the side? So it's like, and it's like, no, you still like, and even like for me doing like scattering reports and stuff, it's like, I can look at all the scattering reports I want and figure out what your weakness is,
right?
But I'm still going to pitch to my strength. So it's like, I'm still going to do what I do best. And if you beat me at what I do best, I can live with it. But if I try to exploit your weakness, that's also my weakness, I'm going to be
interesting.
I'm going to have trouble sleeping at night.
Do you feel like if you can get to a point where you're over prepared and it's like, you're almost out of focus or flow?
Yeah, 100%. I think it definitely can happen. I think if you can lose the sight of what you're really good at, and you can be like, okay, maybe the book is out on me and I have to change, or like, and so I'm gonna watch a ton of video and be like, okay, that's not it. It's like, no, like if you just hammer down on what you're really good at, most of the time you're gonna have success. And even if you don't have success, you can go to sleep that night saying, I got beat at the best of what I do. That guy was just better than me that day. So it's like,
you can live with that.
I can live with that, other than, oh, maybe this was like I had a little doubt creep in your mind of like, okay, I know I should be throwing this pitch, but the chart says I should throw this pitch, or the catcher thinks I should throw this pitch, but I really want to throw this pitch, but I end up choosing the secondary option, and you get beat with it. That's when you can spiral out of control and get into a bad.
It's a paradox. It kind of goes back to that thing. It's like it's a razor thin edge, and if you cross it, you've gone too far, right? So you want to be prepared, but don't over prepare.
Exactly.
And man, I love that. This is an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you taking time.
No problem.
Tell me just a few more questions, and I'll let you get on your way, because I want to make sure you get the proper amount of rest tonight. We got to get you ready for the season. Tell me, actually, I'm just curious. I mean, 2020 was crazy for everybody in the entire world. Of course, it was for you as well. What was that experience like? I mean, playing with no fans, obviously having the season be condensed and all this. I mean, like, how would you describe that?
Definitely different. Definitely took some obviously just you have to literally change your mentality, because we go from scrimmaging in Yankee Stadium to, you're scrimmaging against just your own teammates and everybody's happy-go-lucky, like stats don't matter. Then boom, next day, it's the same atmosphere and the games matter. Like
Yeah.
these games matter. These games are why you get paid, what you're gonna, these games affect everything. So it's like, it was very hard at first to kind of flip that switch. So it's like, because normally when you go out to the field, you see thousands of people and like, okay, all right, game time. Well, now there's none of that. So it's like, you really had to mentally lock it in. And that was like the first thing I probably noticed is like, okay, first game, I was like, you're excited. Then second game, you're like, okay, like I have to take whatever I thought I had to lock in. I got to take it to a whole nother level or else, because these games this is a big league stadium. Those are big league hitters. They're trying to take food off my table. I'm trying to take food off their table. So whoever's more mentally locked in is going to succeed. And that was kind of the whole theme, I think, throughout the entire year.
Do you think that allows you, like, are you taking that experience and like really amplifying, you think, your future because of it in terms of your locked in focus?
Yeah, I think it can help. I think if you got to the point where that's what it takes with no fans and like what it takes to compete with just literally, you have to get your own self motivated and going, and not 40,000 people can't do it, that some guys are really going to succeed and some guys might take a step back. So.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. I think it's extremely powerful. And this entire conversation can be applied to anybody who wants to be a high performer, who wants to be elite performer. This is all about the mentality. It's all about the approach. It's about the routine. You know, it's about, you know, how you make decisions at the end of the day. And I just think it's extremely relevant, but it's also fun to get into that mind, man, that beautiful mind of yours. So I appreciate you. And I just want to go through a few other things. We're going to move into what I call the Rare Air Questionnaire. It's about being a high performer. It's about doing the uncommon. It's about being uncommon because of your choices. And it's about having that extreme desire and that hunger for more. So that's what our entire conversation has been about. So if you had to point to, and I know that you're a big reader because we've even talked about some books, are there, you know, beyond David Goggins, we already talked about David Goggins, if you had to point to 2 or 3 of the most impactful books that you've read over the past few years, what would they be?
Right now I'm actually reading, I'm like a little over halfway through, but I think It Takes What It Takes by
Steven Schwartzman?
Or no, Trevor
Moab. Yeah.
Is amazing. I think there's like, it's like I couldn't get a pen and paper out fast enough.
Wow.
Because I plan on like trying to give this book to some of my friends because like, you gotta read this book. Like it seems like every line I'm like, gosh, it just makes so much sense. And
I love it.
There's just such a difference between being average and being great. So it's like, and so that book is probably one of my favorites that I've read so far. So
love it. We'll put a link in the show notes on that one.
Yeah. And then Atomic Habits was another good one. So, I mean, for me, it's just about, I mean, I love just the whole thing about it. I mean, building just good habits. And that's kind of like that's
what you're all about.
Like just control what I can control, and the habits what I can control. So it's very relatable.
I love that one too, because it's like you're casting the vote in the direction for who you say that you are, like as an identity. And like our entire conversation has been about that. So that's awesome. I'll look up It Takes What It Takes. Are there any others that you point to?
I mean, that's it right now. So that's kind of what I'm stuck on. So
I love it, man. I'll definitely take out that one. It Takes What It Takes. So we'll put links in the show notes on that. But outside of what we've talked about today, which has been really wide ranging, is there the number one way that you elevate your life on a daily basis outside of what we've already discussed? Is there anything else you'd point to?
I mean, for me, it's just consistency. That's it. I mean, I think if you ask anybody, it's just consistency. It's just the same person every day, regardless of what's going on, or and that's kind of what I try to bring my wife and the people who I talk to is just, I'm going to be the same person every day. And it's just who I am.
I love that. I love that. And it's extreme focus. It's extreme consistency. It's diligence. It's going the extra mile, man. I see all those things within you. So that's so awesome, man. And I just appreciate that so much. But outside of, elevating yourself, is there anything that you point to in terms of the biggest way that you elevate others around you, whether it's your team, or, your family or people that you care about?
I think I would just go, I guess, in the baseball world, is just kind of leading by example. Cause I'm not a vocal person by any means. So, I think just like from elevating other people around me, it's just like my work ethic and how I go about my business and like how I go about my day-to-day stuff with just attention to detail. And that's kind of yeah, it's kind of what
I think leading by example, it's like actions speak louder than words anyway.
Yeah.
But man, you've blessed us with your words today too. And I know we pushed you a little bit, maybe outside of your comfort zone normally, which I appreciate so much, man.
Yeah.
But dude, is there any parting thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd share with Elevate Nation today?
Man, I don't know. I think the biggest thing for me is like, and I was reading about this in an article today. It's not, as a baseball player, and this kind of relates to the business world as well. Is like, as a baseball player, nobody's gonna remember my stats or how many people I struck out in 2017 or what my ERA was. They're just gonna remember how you treated people and how you came across as a person. So I just try to treat people with respect, and hopefully you get that in return as well, and just kind of how I live my life.
Dude, man, and there's no doubt about that, because you treat everybody with respect that I've seen. So I appreciate that about you, and man, there couldn't be a stronger character trait really to have. So man, I just honor you so much, and I know myself and Elevate Nation is gonna be cheering you on this year and ongoing. So I want to see some big things, and regardless, we know that you're going to be controlling the controllables. That's for sure. So appreciate you inspiring us, showing us, look behind the curtain, man. And I know that Elevate Nation, if you want to find Chad, just go watch the Yankees, man. This is the most powerful, organization in sports across the world. I mean, I would say that. Would you say that?
You just walk around the street, you see Yankees hats.
Dude, when I was a kid, man, the Yankees was like insane. Like I remember I went to old Yankee Stadium. I was wearing the Evil Empire shirt, man. It was like, dude, it was heaven. I remember walking around, I was like, this place, I was like 10 years old. I'm like, this is like Babe Ruth's house right here. Are you kidding me?
I know I got to pinch myself when I still walk into the stadium every day. Yeah. That's what I get to do on a day-to-day basis, and try not to take it for granted.
It's the most iconic sports brand as far as I'm concerned in the world.
Our media guy talks about it all the time. It's like when somebody does something bad, and if they played one day for the Yankees, they're putting a picture of them playing for the Yankees on the website. So it's like they're not putting a picture of them playing for whoever. If they played for the Yankees or a New York team for one day, that's the picture going on. So it's just, it's crazy.
Dude, I just think about like Jay-Z walking around with his like Yankees hat. I think about like Spike Lee walking around with his Yankees hat. I mean, like whoever, like all these icons, it's like it's a culture more than almost anything. So that's just, it's amazing that you get to like be a part of that banner and all that stuff. So man, we'll be watching out for you there. We'll be cheering you on. But my goodness, Elevate Nation, you have got to re-listen to the show. There's so much value. There's so much gold nuggets that you can apply to your business. Whether you're a high performer, whether you're an athlete, whether you're an investor, a leader, it's about that monomaniacal focus, right? It's about being present. It's about showing up daily. It's about doing the, whatever it takes, right? It's not about, hey, I want this. It's about, I'm committed to this. So man, at the end of the day, I want to encourage you to re-listen to this show. I want to encourage you to share this with a friend, post it on social media, tag Chad, tag myself.
Yeah, for sure.
And share your top 3 takeaways, because what are you applying from this episode? And I know that sometimes when I re-listen to a podcast or read a book, it's like, oh, I got something new here. So I encourage everybody to re-listen to this and apply immediately, because at the end of the day, it's about action.
That's right.
Chad,
all right, thank you. Man. I appreciate it.
You are the man. I appreciate you. Elevate Nation, we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Elevate. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to elevate your results by taking immediate action on what you learned. For more, visit elevatepod.com.